Has your relationship with Police Chief Bill Scott fractured?
You know, the reality is there's always been really significant pressures making the relationship between the DA and the police chief challenging that predate my tenure, that go back to Terrence Hallinan. This is a decades-long history in San Francisco of police union pressure, some community pressure, that make the relationship between these two critical partner departments really challenging. This is not a new problem. It's not specific to Chief Scott or to me. And he's navigating political pressures that I'm sure I'm not fully aware of with the police union and his command staff and City Hall. I know that I have always been and will continue to be focused on doing the work. And we have our disagreements. We've had them before. I'm going to stay focused on the substantive issues and not let the headlines or what he feels he has to say or what he said to the media get in the way of that relationship. We've got work to do.
But you all have, presented that you're working in lockstep with one another. And I think what we've seen as of yesterday, there's no question now that is no longer the case.
Chief Scott and I have been clear from the beginning. We have issues we disagree on, and there are lots of them. But our departments have to function as a team if we're going to keep San Francisco safe. And we're doing our best to do that in very difficult circumstances. There are lots of people out there who would love to see us fighting and pointing the finger at each other and refusing to work together. San Francisco deserves better, and they're going to get better from me.
Should the public have confidence that you're able to keep them safe right now, given your fractured relationship with the chief?
Absolutely. You can look at the data. The numbers speak for themselves. I'm proud of my record as prosecutor. Not only have I personally secured an indictment in a murder case, something neither of my predecessors did, but my conviction rate for homicide has gone up, my charging rate for sexual assaults and drug sales has gone up, and we've done it all in the face of budget crises and an unprecedented pandemic. We're doing more than ever to support vulnerable communities, dramatically expanded the number of victim advocates. We've quintupled the number of Cantonese-speaking staff members in our victim services division, and we are meeting the community's needs absolutely as fast as we're able to do so.
I asked you this at the press conference, but to what extent do you believe this is motivated by the recall attempt against you, the chief pulling out of the decision yesterday?
I'm not going to speculate about what the chief's motivations are. I know that it certainly doesn't feel like a coincidence that the decision happened 3 years after the alleged violations of the MOU, which occurred, if at all, prior to my tenure. And during the first ever trial against an on-duty San Francisco Police Department officer who used excessive force. But I think the decision and the fact that the recall is on the ballot in June makes something very clear, and that's what voters are voting on in June. It's not about my tenure in office. It's about police accountability.
You said that you believe that this will have an impact on your office's ability to do independent investigations into police officers who shoot people. But to what extent will this decision jeopardize your ability to do investigations?
The MOU was a model nationwide. It was really the first and best of its kind to ensure that police weren't being asked to do the impossible thing of policing themselves, and that the public could trust that there was an independent investigation into officer use of force cases. By walking away from this agreement, the police department not only undermines that public trust, but also creates significant obstacles for my investigators and lawyers to be able to make a determination one way or the other about whether or not a crime occurred. This means that officers who use excessive force can expect that investigations will drag on for probably years as we fight to get access to basic information.
And so the question is whether or not you'll be notified going forward, whether or not they'll preserve evidence.
Access to crime scenes, all that, yep.
Okay. And can you talk about what prompted this in the first place, besides just the streak of police shootings? I understand that history, but was there a problem with police investigating themselves? Were they doing a poor job of holding themselves accountable that led to this?
This isn't a problem unique to San Francisco, and it's not a new problem. We know that since time immemorial, if we ask police to investigate themselves, the results are that no one ever commits a crime. And it's simply inconceivable that in the history of San Francisco, until my administration, there was never a police officer that used unlawful force while on duty. It's inconceivable. And yet there were never charges brought. There were never cases brought to juries. This MOU, creating an outside independent team that's separate, in fact, from most of the rest of the DA's office, that has the sole purpose, that's funded by the Board of Supervisors, created in large part by President of the Police Commission, Malia Cohen, when she was on the board, to ensure neutral, detached, and independent investigations, has been a role model for the country. It has decreased police use of force. It has decreased deaths at the hands of police. It has increased the speed with which my office can make public decisions, usually that we are not filing charges when force was used. And walking away from this agreement is going to make it much more difficult for us to hold those police who do commit crimes accountable.
What do you think that the decision by the chief to walk away from this agreement says about his commitment to having an independent auditor review these cases?
I think it speaks for itself.